What's up? What's up? Welcome to the market recap. Today is September 21st, 2025. So let's get into it. I don't have anything to recap, I guess, because I didn't really trade too much last week. Whatever I had kind of had a second round, came back and knocked me out. So didn't do much of anything last week, but starting to feel pretty good. Back to my normal self, and looking to close the month out strong. So let's get into the watch list. So I've got a couple of different groups. I have my dollar group, CAD group, a yen group, and then I've got some kind of miscellaneous pairs here. So starting out with this dollar group, the two primary pairs I have is this dollar NOK and dollar CAD. So dollar NOK will be a CBO on your 1 hour time frame. It's an IBO on your 4 hour, likely, an ACB on your 10-minute. So all three kind of time frames align. Looks pretty good, all things considered. The pivots really haven't updated yet because this is an exotic pair, so it usually takes a little while. Daily time frame wise, we're at recent all-time lows for the year, really. We started up here in the beginning of the year, and I've retraced a fair amount. You have a little bit of MACD divergence coming in on your daily time frame. You have some decent candlesticks here. You're only this is the third day or so, fourth day into the run. So everything lines up. Looks pretty decent. I think you even got MACD on your 1 hour time frame. It's pretty bullish MACD. So yeah, we're just looking for a pullback to 0.382 and a follow through. So, and hopefully the pivots line up well whenever they transition over. The second pair I got is this dollar CAD. This is, technically it's a 1 hour CBO, but the 4 hour is also kind of a CBO, and this 10-minute is also kind of a CBO. So it's a little funky. Daily time frame wise, it's kind of just sideways price action. It's really whatever. It's not plus or minus one way or the other. It's kind of neutral. But I do like this kind of trend, upwards trend. You have a break below, coming back for a retest. I prefer dollar NOK over this dollar CAD. So we'll see how they both kind of develop. I prefer to take the dollar NOK first, just because dollar CAD's likely not going to move a whole bunch until New York. So 2 sessions away. Whereas dollar NOK should move during London, I imagine. But yeah. And then these other kind of secondary dollar pairs I have, they're all pretty interesting, right? From a daily time frame wise, they have great daily setups. Like this pound dollar looks pretty good. This Kiwi dollar looks pretty good. Dollar Swiss looks real nice, right? But they need some pretty substantial pullbacks. So I'm watching these mostly for 1 hour ACBs. So like this Aussie dollar, it's an IBO on your 4 hour, which typically is a CBO on your 1 hour. But this needs a decent size kind of pullback based off of the 4 hour fib levels, which would put this in kind of an ACB territory on my 1 hour, right? Similar thing goes with pound dollar here. It's a CBO on my 4 hour. So typically one level lower will be an ACB in that situation. So this needs a decent size kind of 4 hour pullback based off these fib levels, right? So likely it'll turn into an ACB on my 1 hour, CBO on my 4 hour, and then my daily time frame isn't quite an IBO yet, but say if this push down today and then tomorrow we get a decent sized pullback, then it would be a daily IBO, 4 hour CBO, and a 1 hour ACB. So again, all three kind of timeframes line up. More so, this is getting into like a swing trade territory based off of, say, this layout where I'm trading 4 hour runs, right? Like this looks like a beautiful CBO. Daily is starting to look like an IBO, right? So could potentially take this as an even further trade down to like your weekly 50, daily 200. So it's got some decent potential here. So I'll be watching it. And then Kiwi dollar, same kind of thing. 4-hour CBO needs a decent sized pullback. We'll put it in the ACB territory on the 1 hour. So, but some of these Kiwis also they have some nice kind of like 1 hour price action you can see here, especially on this 10-minute, just nice kind of trendy market downwards. So I will potentially be watching to play this pullback, but we'll just see how price develops. And then dollar Swiss, it almost lines up for that like CBO-esque IBO ACB on the 1 hour, 4 hour, 10-minute. But the fib level doesn't really line up too well, right? Like if I base it off of the 4 hour level, then it needs a pullback essentially to S1 and like the daily 50, which we could see that today. So it's potential, right? If you base the fib level off this next level, it's still roughly the same area. So I think it has potential. I'll be watching it. It's just not quite the price action. I'd prefer a larger break, really, realistically. So CAD group, like EuroCAD, it's a CBO, right? So decent daily of a pretty strong kind of, bullish trend, nice candlesticks, reversal candlesticks, looks good. It's an IBO on your 4 hour, CBO on your 1 hour, and it'll be an ACB on the 10-minute. So all three time frames line up like I like to see. Yeah, I don't have too many really qualms about this. Besides where I drew in this kind of horizontal support line or resistance line in this case, if I'm looking at these kind of like, look at this as a potential head and shoulders, right? So left shoulder is head, coming for the right shoulder to form the right shoulder to trade that. The only thing I don't like is if I'm taking a trade off 0.382, which will likely line up with the 4 hour 50, the 1 hour 50 by the time it pulls back, my stop protection is not the best because I can't really get it over this left shoulder. So it's just kind of a negative with the trade. It's possible we get a deeper pullback and then that's not really a factor. It just kind of depends what happens when price pulls back here. So, but again, if you swap this over to a day trade, a swing trade setup, so trading the 4 hour run, this is a really nice IBO, right? So you could potentially take this as a 4 hour IBO and then hold this trade all the way down to a weekly 50, which would be a pretty large move. I mean, do I have that? We measured that right down to, you're looking at like a 540 pip move or so. So a pretty large potential for a decent sized trade here. So I'll be watching it. CAD Swiss, I'm looking at as a CBO. So 1 hour CBO, 4 hour IBO, 10-minute ACB. Again, all kind of lines up well. Nice kind of clear higher high, looking for a higher low and a continuation. Yeah, daily looks good. I mean, similar to kind of EuroCAD, right? Like you have this pair that's been trending down for a while. It's in need of a kind of a daily pullback. You're starting to break out now on your 1 hour, and 4 hour kind of confirms that. If we get a pullback down to this horizontal level and some deceleration and reversal there, then essentially you have an inverse head and shoulders. Whereas on EuroCAD, you would just have a normal head and shoulders. So both kind of aligning that CAD kind of bullish bias that I'm leaning towards on these. They look good. Pound CAD, I've been watching this pair a ton. I was watching it last week when it broke down right here, and I was looking to take a trade off this kind of retest of the EMAs. So a 1 hour CBO, 4 hour IBO, but it never really pulled back. And I think I was looking at this on Friday. I didn't trade a whole lot last week, but some of the pairs that I had on development watch for the past couple of weeks, I was still periodically checking in on them because I knew there were some larger moves, and this is one of them. But sadly, it didn't really pull back to an area of value to allow me to get into the trade on Friday. So I still think this has potential for an ACB, right? Like it's a really strong kind of wave one break. I think we could see a decent sized pullback. And it could still be a CBO on your 1 hour. But I think it's likely it kind of does maybe a little bit of a deeper pullback. We'll see what kind of happens. But it has the potential to be a 1 hour CBO or an ACB. It just kind of depends how quickly it pulls back and what the EMAs look like. But still potential. You still got room to move on your daily time frame to the recent lows or the weekly 50. So I'll be watching it. And then Aussie CAD, similar to pound CAD, right? Like you're in this decent kind of pullback on your daily time frame. So it could reverse from here and just continue on, or it's a 4 hour kind of IBO, which essentially is going to be a 1 hour ACB. And yeah, so it has potential. Not really primary pair, but something to watch, see how it develops. These yens, pound yen is my primary. It's kind of just a CBO. So wave 3 CBO. It's a 4 hour IBO. Granted, it's already bouncing off of the 4 hour 200, but the 4 hour 200 doesn't really line up with the daily 50 right now. So I'm kind of just ignoring it. If it lined up with the daily 50, it's typically like your 200 EMA lines up with the 50 EMA a few levels higher. So my 1 hour 200 should line up with my 4 hour 50, and so on and so forth. In this case, I put more weight on the daily 50 than I do the 4 hour 200. So I'm willing to trade through the 4 hour 200 basically, is what I'm getting at. If this pulls back and gives an entry. Daily time frame looks good. Nice kind of bearish candle here at a decent daily level that's been respected a good bit in the past. So you can draw a line in kind of there and see it. Right, like roughly rejected here, here, here. Now kind of a false break and a rejection here, possibly. So looks good. Swiss yen would be a 1 hour IBO. Again, the daily's starting to look pretty overextended and potentially giving us a double top and a reversal and a nice kind of like eventually maybe an IBO on your daily time frame and a push back down to the previous highs, the weekly 50. So it has some pretty large room to move on a daily time frame. There's quite a few pairs as we've talked about here that their dailies have room for some pretty large moves. The 1 hours are kind of meh. Some of them 1 hours are really nice on Friday. Just they didn't pull back and present entries. But there's still some possibilities to take these trades that we pay attention to. Like this Swiss yen, I would have preferred to have taken it on, say, Friday. Like this break, this kind of retest right here on your 10-minute, I think is a nicer entry. I think this still has potential to be a trade today, but it's just not as nice as it was in the middle of the day on Friday when it broke. So, but something still to watch. Just because I really like the daily here. It might be a sit on my hands situation, wait for a potential CBO. Or if price decelerates right here for a while and it seems like it's just not going to push any higher, then still potentially take this trade short. So, NOK yen, again, kind of similar to all these other yens. All these yens have some room to move on your daily time frame. This has a break of your 4 hour 50 and whatnot. So technically kind of like a CBO on your 1 hour, but a little bit of odd price action, right? You could say this is wave 1, this is wave 2, this is wave 3, this is wave 4, and this is wave 5, which is the part I don't love of this. Or you could just say this is all like one wave based off of your 4 hour, and this is about to be wave 2, and then you're going to play a wave 3. Just depends how you look at it. So, but based off of a 4 hour, if you throw in a kind of a fib retracement in here It needs a decent pullback to value. And it doesn't really line up anymore with the 4-hour 50. It lines up with your 1-hour 50, which is cool. So yeah, just something to watch. See how it develops, see what happens. Obviously still waiting for the pivots to readjust on this pair as well. Euro Aussie, I'm watching as a potential ABO play, so a breakout play. 1 hour's had this nice kind of like run. I think we talked about it early last week. But your daily time frame, this is becoming like a daily IBO. And it's already sitting at your daily 50. It's a nice kind of break and retest. It might make more sense to draw this here. Something like that. But yeah, you have a break, you have a retest on your daily time frame. You have plenty of room to move to either the recent previous lows or the weekly 50. Both are good targets. And I think this has potential. It's kind of starting to wedge price in this ascending triangle. So if it, depending on what it looks like here, it could be a nice little ABO, or could wait for it to wedge this price action and take this as like an SBO. So wait for it to wedge to the edge, and then when it breaks this trend in the EMA, take the trade, put a stop above the recent highs, and then a target at the lows. Something like that would still be an interesting trade. Now this falls into kind of a swing trade territory, but it's still a setup. Still something to pay attention to. Or you take it as an ABO for a little bit tighter of a stop and a little bit more R to R. So this is primarily what I'll be looking at, is position sizing this to the lows for like an 821. So we'll see what happens here. But interesting setup, right? If it's an IBO on your daily time frame and this continues and eventually gives us a CBO, then this has hella room to move. And falls in again with our concept of a lot of room to move on Euro CAD, as well as kind of CAD Swiss. So you have these, and as well as pound yen. So these euros, Swisses, pounds, right? Like all these euro pairs have some pretty nice dailies and room to move on them, which leads me to entertain this kind of ABO. And I typically don't take ABOs, but I think this will be nice, because 1 hour ABO, 4 hour essentially ACB, right? Like we have a break above the 1 hour 50, just really kind of continued pushing here. And now we're sitting at the 4 hour 200, which is the daily 50. They line up, right? So yeah, it's interesting. And then the last pair I kind of have on secondary watch is this pound Singapore. Decent large kind of movement here on your daily time frame. A slight break your daily 50, but your 4 hour time frame is like a CBO with a pullback, which will likely make this 1 hour an ACB, or it could potentially still be a CBO with a pullback. But it needs a pretty substantial pullback if you look at my fib levels, which are drawn from the 4 hour kind of highs and lows, which is also your 1 hour highs and lows. There's not really been any pullback here on your 1 hour. So it needs a pretty decent sized pullback. It doesn't really line up with your pivots too well. But it's interesting, right? Like again, you have room to move on your daily. If we get a pullback here and a continuation, then your next likely target is the daily 200, weekly 50, right? So as well as S1 for your daily pivots, your weekly pivots. Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting. I have a lot of interesting setups coming up this week. So then I have some stuff on development watch. I have some Kiwi pairs, right? Watching Aussie Kiwi here for a while. I was anticipating a kind of breakdown at this, level. We didn't really get one. We just got to break out. So still watching this here. You may have a potential double top right now on your 1 hour. It could break down and give an IBO in the middle of the day or come tomorrow and then trade that. And then that could daisy chain all the way down, right? Like this could start as an IBO. This breaks down. We get a retest, a follow through, and then breaks it the 4 hour 50. And now you get another retest and follow through. So the CBO, but it's an IBO on your 4 hour, which eventually then leads to a daily IBO, right? And so further and further down. So it's got a lot of potential. Just kind of waiting to see what happens and if we get a breakdown. Kiwi Swiss, again, daily time frame, sitting at some interesting levels. We get a breakout, has a potential to be an IBO middle of the day today, maybe tomorrow. So same kind of concept with all of our Kiwi pairs here, right? Like we're just kind of waiting on breaks on all of them. And then pound Swiss, kind of waiting to see what happens here at these lows. I'm anticipating like a triple bottom and a push up from them. Euro yen, similar to these other yen pairs, kind of an overextended daily, starting to reach all-time highs. So continue to push from here or continue lower. I mean, you sort of kind of have an IBO on your 1 hour time frame, but that really occurred on Friday. And then we had a push here, didn't really make it past the previous lows. I don't really love trying to take this a second time right now. I prefer just waiting for a breakdown and taking like a CBO come tomorrow if it does that. But if it doesn't and it pushes higher, either gives us a double top situation or it retests these daily high, which I think is like all-time highs for this pair, right? And this is another very interesting level to trade from. So we'll see what happens. Euro pound, have this on development to see what happens at these kind of recent daily highs as well. As you can see with your kind of 1 hour price action, right? Like if it comes and retests those and we get a breakdown, then it has the potential to be an IBO at some point this week. And then Euro Kiwi, which I guess this Kiwi should go with the other one, Kiwis. Same kind of concept of all the other Kiwis, right? Like just waiting for a break. Has the potential to be an IBO at some point later this week. And that's my watch list. So that's all I got. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. See you.